Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be Norsca versus Grand Cathay, Leech Lord versus Medley. Should be quite a bit of fun, and we do have the new Cathay Archer RORs, which is kind of a cool niche tech against the trolls. The fact they do fire damage and also imbue further fire damage, kind of neat. Now, looking here at the Norscan army, it's going to be the classic stuff. The meta for Norsca these days, of course, is using their very cost-effective infantry, which do have the rage mechanic. So if you guys haven't seen this is something that sets Norsca apart from the other Chaos factions, is that all their infantry units are, I think it's like the entire roster for the most part, right? Not all their, okay, the trolls don't have it, but yeah, the infantry do. So basically, as they're in combat longer, they get physical resist, they get leadership, they get melee attack. It makes their baseline troops very cost-effective. So Marauders, backed up by Marauder champions, or excuse me, just basic Marauders with great weapons. And these guys are a really nice addition. For a very cheap price point, they're going to be able to go fisticuffs with Jade Warriors and trade upwards into more elite units like, Celestial Dragon Guard if your opponent wants to bring them, or Jade Warrior Halberds. So that is going to be the main battle line. Marauders, backed up by Marauder great weapons with a couple Norscan Ice Trolls, which are honestly just a solid unit, very similar to the Armored Chaos Troll, but they have Frostbite. I believe they hit a little bit harder, but are slightly squishier as it pertains to the armor, but a very, very good piece. They can stop the Cathay Cavalry, they can fight things like Terracotta Sentinels, just gotta watch out for their leadership and them getting focus fired by, cannons, any sort of heavy firepower. Up in the front, we got Wulfric. Wulfric is very standard. Seafang is super good. You can pop this down the formation of a Cathay gunline. It'll certainly get the job done. And the Hunter of Champions is always great. Metalcaster as well, so it's going to be a Plague of Rust style. Oh, that's cool. I always like to see some Plague of Rust action. I'm trying to think of the big synergies here. I mean, they have plenty of armor piercing, so maybe if they're just trying to focus fire down like a Zhao Ming type character with some javelins, or I guess it's mainly to synergize with Wulfric's lack of armor piercing. He hits pretty hard, but he does struggle against big armor, so if you Plague of Rust, Zhao Ming down here, he's going to be at 10 armor, and Wulfric suddenly going to be kicking his butt, so over here we got more Marauders and more Spears, and looking at the Grand Cathay army, which is very, very cool. I love it. Medley, she's always bringing some cool stuff. It's going to be Jade Warriors in the front, backed up by triple Crane Gunners. So Crane Gunners are basically Cathay Jezzails, and they certainly pack quite a punch, although I haven't seen them being used. Although, to be fair, I haven't seen Cathay played in a long time in tournaments, so this is pretty fun. And this was the grand finals of a recent tournament, so Cathay clearly getting places here when some of the specialists jump on and play them. We got Zhao Ming in the front. He's a great choice here, I think. And you can also go with, I still think the Dragon-Blooded Lords just might be overall stronger, but I really don't know what I'm talking about with Cathay. I rarely play them, but the Dragon Breath is really good. So you could also do just a cheap Dragon-Blooded Lord, but I guess he's a big source of terror that, in theory, could fight against some of the characters, rout off trolls, do that sort of thing. But yeah, just spamming Dragon's Breath on cheap Marauder spam is very cost-effective. Also, warding Iron gives a little bit of ward save. So we'll do some fast forwarding while the two players get ready to battle it out here on the Celestial Lake. Grand Cathay defending its turf against the Norscan invaders. Norsca going to be setting up shop in the tree line here. Beast of Tashnar and Norscan Warhounds. Looks like they're wanting to get ambushed, but Medley seems very aware of this. Does have a couple units of Peasant Horsemen on standby, and also some Peasant Long Spears. And now we see the Crane Gunners trying to shoot through the trees, and they do make some light contact with the Norscan Trolls, but the Trolls should be able to kind of avoid this, and kind of puts Cathay in a bit of a tricky position. They obviously have great shooting, but they're heavily line-of-sighted. If this was a big open field like, Borderlow Landing or an Oakenshield or something, the Crane Gunners would be doing way more, but here it seems like they're pretty heavily obstructed. Uh-oh, Searing Doom going to be going down to the Bandits of the Silver Road. That is very, very cost-effective, and it looks like that was an overcast right there, taking them down to about half their HP, but they appear to be pretty steady despite that. Yeah, they do fire damage, so that's going to give them an extra 20% damage against the Trolls. And now the Norscans are going to be bashing against the shields of Grand Cathay, as Wulfric's Seafang goes down as well. Going to be nasty. Jade Warriors, though, typically will trade pretty well into the baseline Marauders. For sure would win that fight in a vacuum, but now with Trolls being mixed in, it's going to be a little bit scary. But Zhao Ming is here, and I'm surprised he doesn't do fire damage with his base attacks. He's literally like an avatar of a dragon, isn't he? But nonetheless, nice breath attack right there. Beautiful one on the Marauders. Frontline clash is underway, and these Jade Warriors do have the Harmony bonus coming in from the Bandits of the Silver Road. So they're going to be slightly more stalwart as we see Spears maneuvering out to the side to screen out the Hounds, which look like they're going to be trying to get into the backfield. Zhao Ming going fisticuffs with Wulfric, very risky, especially when he's not in dragon form. He kind of is in a similar situation in which he doesn't really have the best armor piercing. So Wulfric's going to want to switch over while we do see the Crane Gunners trying to get line of sight, but being heavily obstructed by the hills and all sorts of other good stuff like that. So yeah, a little bit problematic. Cathay is basically fighting with just their melee against a very strong Norscan force over here. And honestly, not doing badly. We see some of the Norscans getting routed. The Trolls actually get pushed back. Zhao Ming with another pretty decent breath attack there on the Marauder Spears and the Marauder Great Weapons. So yeah, pretty impressive stuff. Zhao Ming still dueling the Hunter of Champions. I would imagine he's probably going to want to go Dragon form here soon, because he's taking just so much HP damage against Wulfric, and still doing pretty good considering the circumstances. On the far side, we do see Leech Lord trying to get around the back, but Grand Cathay is able to fend that off using Peasant Horsemen. and Jade Lancers, so they really do fend off that pressure, and now I can foresee these Marauder Horsemen being in a little bit of danger, as Medley probably will zip those Horsemen and Jade Lancers out there to help out in that Duel of Fates. Frontline, Jade Warriors do finally break, but not before the Norscan Ice Trolls get broken by the Bandits of the Silver Road. Look at them coming in here, not bad, 600 value. Breath attack there, a little bit of a miss. We see Leech Lord pressuring the sides now, so Leech Lord is going to be getting the spears, sounding the horn, and look at this, the big circuitous flank. These guys were like literally sitting in the trees the entire time, the absolute patience here. And now the Beasts of Tashnar are going to be heading towards the back objective, or the back cannon, which I suppose is their objective, but Jade Lancers should be able to defend both those units off. Honestly, just hit the Jade Lancers on top of the cannon. That's going to be your best bet at this point. But the Crane Gunners still getting some okay open field shooting. They are putting some hurt onto some Marauders here, but I feel like they're going to be in a little bit of danger of being compromised as we do see some Condom Wolves coming in. The Skin Wolves certainly going to put some pressure on the backfield. And also the Norscan Hounds, which were super patient in the tree line, now going to be feasting. Crane Gunners are extremely squishy. 18 melee defense, pretty much no armor. They're going to have a really bad time. Jade Lancers do get in, run down the Beast of Tashnar, certainly the better of the two choices. Up in the front, we are going to be seeing Zhao Ming, one of the coolest animations in the game. Come on, go Dragon Form, do it! Dragon Ball Z! Oh, yeah, look at that, so epic. He goes Dragon Form. Grand Cathay, man, when they get some DLCs, that's going to be pretty fun to see him in action once again. And now he's in his Dragon Form and certainly can probably bully Wulfric in combat. Granted, it looks like he did take a bit of damage, and Norsca is getting a nice little route through the front line here. We do see the Marauders pushing through, Trolls have come back, and the Crane Gunners really just seem to struggle on this map. And as an Empire player, I can really relate to Medley's kind of struggles with that. On this map, I think is a very good map for brawler factions like Nurgle, Warriors of Chaos, Norsca, but I find that shooting factions really do struggle on this map pretty heavily. If like your build is going to be relying on gunpowder shooting, you're not going to have a good time here in my experience. Because like the trees, line of sight, there's also like a slope and rocks here, so you're always going to be kind of obstructed from shooting comfortably at the point of Objective 1 to other areas on the map. But even still, Grand Cathay is maintaining a little bit of a value lead, and they're certainly still in this game. Norsca has held the objectives, but Norsca is now pressuring the back objective as well. Peasant Long Spearmen will lose some Marauders in a sustained grind. Grand Cathay going to be calling in some Jade Warrior Halberds to hold that back objective, which is certainly smart. And now Skin Wolves are all over the battlefield. Skin Wolves are going to start doing some good damage, I would imagine, against a lot of the Jade units. Crane Gunners, some of them still online, still fighting the good fight. A testament to the micro here of Medley holding those things despite some of the line of sight issues that you do run into here. And we do see the Crane Gunners running away, being chased down by the Marauders with great weapons. And the big Duel of Fates is once again upon us as Zhao Ming hunts the Hunter of Champions. Zhao Ming's still a little bit tankier, 4,000, not tankier, but more HP. 4,000 compared to 3,800, but Wulfric is going to be getting Skin Wolf support. Skin Wolves are going to be a very good answer against Zhao Ming. Zhao Ming does go up to 100 armor when he turns into his dragon, so I think if Zhao Ming had gone Dragon Form a little bit sooner, he could have taken way less damage against Wulfric and would have given a lot more damage back. But even still, backfield's looking a little bit hog wild. The Hounds are out, and the Baja Boys are here as we see the Beasts of Tashnar feasting on the Grand Cannon. So that's going to be a pretty big loss. We do see Norsca eclipsing the value gap, and they're pretty much even on value within 400, and with Troll healing being taken into account, it's probably pretty damn even. Look at that. Hunter of Champions active. It looks like Zhao Ming could be in a little bit of trouble. Wulfric on the hunt. Skin Wolves on the hunt. That is some nastiness. A little bit of firepower up in the high ground. Not doing bad damage, but again, going to be heavily line of sighted by the trees and the slope. Crane Gunners are a great unit, and so are Iron Hill Gunners, which is what I meant to be referring to, but yeah, the Iron Hills seem to be struggling a little bit with line of sight. We see Zhao Ming go back into human form, which makes him a little bit of a smaller target, mitigates the effectiveness of some of these anti-large bonuses, but we'll have to see how it all unfolds. It looks like during all that, Cathay was able to grab the side objective here, so Grand Cathay did get some Jade Warriors and some cavalry, some Peasant Horsemen on the point. We're able to wrestle that. Meanwhile, Grand Cathay does restabilize their back point, so could this be the dreaded comeback for Cathay in terms of the objectives? Wulfric, though, might have something to say about that. As Zhao Ming is broken, a nice Searing Doom going down right there, does nail those Jade Warriors. A little bit of friendly fire against Skin Wolves, but such bombardments don't really do good damage against monsters, units like that, really. And it looks like Zhao Ming is going to be fleeing the scene. I don't know what that fire effect was, but he is running for the hills. Most likely will be unsummoned, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Wulfric bounce out there and go after him. Couple Crane Gunners back online. And Celestial Dragon Guard, not a bad choice here, seeing that there's not a lot of good armor piercing left here. A couple Celestial Dragon Guard up on the points could make it very tough for Leech Lord to get them back, considering a lot of his army is going to be Skin Wolves, Wulfric right now, and no real good quality infantry. So maybe, just maybe, they'll get the job done. Jade Lancers charging into these Armored Skin Wolves. Armored Skin Wolves will have extremely favorable trading against any sort of shock cavalry, like Jade Lancers, like Empire Knights, like Winged Lancers on Kislev. The armor really makes a big difference in that fight. The regeneration in anti-large is quite good. Plague of Rust also active, not that it was super necessary, but it does send a message and trigger the lore passive, which is the metal shifting, giving base damage of 12%, which is pretty good actually. Very underrated lore passive. We do see the Jade Lancers crumble down here. Well, Grand Cathay is actually going to be going for an aggressive cap here, so moving up Jade Warrior Halberds and Peasant Long Spears to try and take this objective 3. In response, the Leech Lord is going to be calling in the Marauder Berserkers, and Marauder Berserkers will heavily outtrade these Halberd and Spear units. Even though Jade Warriors do have the good armor, the Berserkers' combat stats are just so much better for sustained long grinding that they will cut through Jade Warrior Halberds. It'll take a little bit of time, but they'll certainly get there eventually, so very, very scrappy game. Despite the gun line not working out terribly well for Medley, she's still doing a great job hanging in there, but we do see the Skin Wolves coming, and Wolfric is now going to start trading pretty much with no counterplay against him. More Peasants on the way up. Felix Jaeger coming in. Oh, look at that. Always like a good Felix play. And Felix is pretty good against like Marauder Champion type units, which is one of the reasons why you perhaps see him, but he will get smashed really badly by Wolfric in combat. I mean, he'll still do some damage in the fight back. His stats are good, but Wolfric is, with Hunter of Champions active, will put his armor down to 40, mitigate his stats, and he will definitely lose out on that duel if they end up fighting fisticuffs. Celestial Dragon Guard could make the difference, though. Felix standing on top of Celestial Dragon Guard sounds like a pretty big power play. More Jade Warriors on the way in, and it looks like Grand Cathay did fall back, which I really agree with that decision. Falling back and not trying to press up on those Berserkers seems like the right call. Otherwise, you know, you're really in their territory. They're going to be able to swarm you. And Grand Cathay is not a faction that does like terribly well when their units are overextended, unsupported. They really, really rely on like formation-based combat. Norscan wolves here are going to be feasting like the heathen kings of old. These bandits of Silver Road going to be getting munched pretty heavily. Confident, but not for long. And I do like seeing the bandits here. I think they're like actually a pretty good choice in this matchup. They do feel nice, but certainly hard to protect them. Norsca is a really, really aggressive faction. They can put a lot of pressure on you. This objective being held by Grand Cathay. We do see the capture weight kind of fluctuating back and forth. Skin Wolves, Marauders going to be trying to pounce on those Jade Warriors, but the Celestial Dragon Guard should be able to trade pretty favorably here. And Felix is going to be trying to be the hero that the old world needs as Karagul is out. And it looks like he does connect, actually getting some respectable damage against Wolfric. Wolfric is sitting at about 2,100 HP and does not want to stay and fight amongst the Celestial Dragon Guard. And now we do see Marauders with Great Weapons coming out. So Leech Lord really bringing out the right answers to the threats that he's seeing, which is one of the big things, skill sets that is required in Domination mode. So Marauder Champions, or Marauders with Great Weapons, excuse me. I don't know why, I'm just so used to seeing Marauder Champions out when I see the basic ones. I'm like, oh, wait a second here. Granted, usually most Norscan players will bring a combination of both. But Celestial Dragon Guard are going to have a horrific trade here. You know, in a vacuum, they will beat a single Marauder, but it's not going to be good for them. Jade Warriors will certainly help buffer that out, and maybe they're going to be able to hold, but with rear charges coming in from the Skin Wolves, no Harmony here for the Cathay formation, it's going to be very tough and really, really nice magic usage. Brutal stuff on the Celestial Dragon Guard. As far as the other points go, Grand Cathay does have some Crane Gunners online. Looks like they're ripping some shots, but now the Berserker is going to be heading over, and I do see this Grand Cathay army here kind of getting folded up. Norsca has gotten the objective back. They obviously have quite a bit more capture weight. Marauders. Another unit of Marauders here. Skin Wolves, 2 characters against Grand Cathay's 2 infantry, and just a single character. So Norsca really swarming here in the 4th quarter, and this is where you start to see the value differential making a difference, right? If you had Zhao Ming still on the battlefield, flying around, causing terror, getting big breath attacks on this like lightly armored pack of units, it would be a very, very different situation. But the Celestial Dragon Guard, as cool as they are, not going to be able to hold against this onslaught of monsters. Infantry, Wolfric, Great Weapons, it's going to be brutal. Over on the other side, we do see a little bit of skirmishing going down. Maybe Grand Cathay going to be sounding the horn, trying to push the back objective. But man, the Beasts of Tashnar and Cathay's formations are a little bit broken at this point. So we're seeing a ton of the Norscan mobility just causing massive havoc all over the battlefield. As I think this is going to be the beginning of the end here, as we do see the reinforcements of the Iron Hail Gunners coming in. Without formation support, they're going to get hunted down by Skin Wolves. And even if the Skin Wolves do get peeled temporarily by Jade Lancers, these Skin Wolves will trade pretty cost effectively into those Jade Lancers. And the guns are going to be running into line of sight issues with the trees and the hills and a lot of stuff on this side of the map. So I really do think that Norsca is probably going to run away with the game right now. They're up on points. Not by like a ton, but comfortably enough to win on just 2 objectives here. So we do see Wolfric moving back in. Felix Jaeger doing his thing. Celestial Dragon Guard and Jade Warriors being pretty good units. And honestly, Cathay does have some really, really nice backbone fundamentals, much like Kislev. Although Kislev is a little bit better in the meta. I find that against some of the top tier factions, Kislev just trades better. Kislev does have a little bit more stopping power in terms of their mobility, and I find that they're able to retake points better. And honestly, Kislev infantry with some of the buffs they've gotten are just, I think, more cost effective than those of Grand Cathay. Grand Cathay does have some big advantages over Kislev for sure. I think they have better magic, they have better artillery, their cannons, and the fire rain rockets aren't bad. Little Groms are certainly decent, but Grand Cathay's cannons are extremely good. But yeah, overall, I think Kislev is just a little bit happier in the meta. Although, strangely enough, I think Grand Cathay actually does super good against Kislev. If you put them in like a mirror match, not a mirror match, but a match against one another, a Thunderdome fight, I should say. I usually do see Grand Cathay perform well if the players are of equal skill. Although I haven't seen it in a while. Maybe things have changed since the recent patch. Grand Cathay going for that pressure on the back objective. They do start to flip it. We do see Marauders against Peasant Long Spearmen, but the problem is Jade Warrior Halberds, they have 22 melee attack, which obviously is compensated for by their big anti-large bonus when they're fighting large targets, but in terms of their clearing power against Marauders, that's going to take 10 years. And a single Marauder Great Open, which costs about 200 less gold than a Jade Warrior Halberd, is going to defeat them in combat. So at this point, we do see Norsca starting to run away with the game. Grand Cathay pretty much in desperation mode as they're just sending units out and just trying to swarm all the points, going for a triple cap, which is not Cathay's forte. They certainly, Cathay needs their initial army, that gun line, those Iron Hill gunners to really just do a ton of work. And the Crane Gunners, and they just couldn't. The line of sight was too much. Now, I think if Medley had been on a map like, for example, Border Low Landing, where it's more flat, there's less hills, a little bit less terrain obstruction, I think that triple Crane Gunner build could have been really nasty and could have heavily punished the Norscan army in open field. But on a map like this is like, there's this map and there's Gates of Ekron that I refuse to play gunline factions on now because I've lost so many games because of line of sight. Whereas I think they're much better for brawlers. Like if you're playing any sort of a chaos faction, maybe Empire isn't so bad because you can get war wagons in range, but like, yeah, it's still rough for a lot of traditional gunline, which is fine. There should be maps like that. That are, going to be favoring different playstyles. They change up the meta. You don't want them to all be shooting galleries. That was kind of how it was back in the days of Land Battle, right? Like every single map was like an Oakenhammer, just like a flat open map with minor variances here and there. But I like that terrain plays a variable and encourages different playstyles. There might be a faction that has a 20% win rate on most maps, but has like an 80% here. It's cool to see that. I think it's fun. And you see that in other RTS games as well. Like some maps in StarCraft are going to be better for Terran. Some are going to be better for Protoss. Age of Empires, very much the same. So yeah, it was a cool build, but I just think the map was very restrictive for it. So nice attempt though. And yeah, I'm a big Zhao Ming enjoyer. I actually think he's a pretty good choice. And you could also go for a Dragon-Blooded Lord of Yin and just be getting those sweet breath attacks and have a little bit of a wider army, like more Jades. Well, having a big terror-causing dragon is never a bad thing. So Wolfric did good. Leech Lord, really, really top tier play. Leech Lord's a great player and had really, really nice counter summons. The Marauders with the Great Opens were very good. The Armored Skin Wolves are a beautiful addition as well, and excellent Hound Micro. Good pressure, everything you need to be a good champion of Norsca. So GG, well played to these mighty champions. We'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. And thank you both for sending in this replay.